Hi everyone. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So, assessing the state of the ongoing feud between ex-President Musk and the current president, the Orange Menace himself, something that I realized about the composite chart, which I had brought up as a potential point of detente, some kind of pullback due to Jupiter currently transiting through the late degrees of Gemini. And that's actually, I think, what to some extent has happened in the last couple of days. But what I didn't notice, and I should have, this is pretty obvious, but sometimes when you are looking at a chart and you only focus on signs that are antagonistic to each other, you can miss the geometry of an angle. And so Saturn by now is in early Aries, has been since late last month, and since the conflict only broke out more recently, I tuned out the fact that early Aries is still within a square to their composite sun. And this is more than enough to explain in greatest measure why they're running into some pretty serious difficulties. It also doesn't bode well for the future because Saturn continues to be where it is in Aries, just goes a little bit more in, but at the station point later in the summer, it's still within 2+ degrees of the composite sun. So that's quite a challenging angle. And Jupiter leaves very quickly now. By the 10th, it's in the next sign. And so that doesn't bode well for any kind of full restoration. But in the meantime, we've learned that Musk has pulled back. He began to express some regret as different people were reminding him of the stakes. And then now today, he apparently has deleted some of the more aggressive tweets, such as the Epstein attack, as well as when he suggested that the Orange Abomination should be impeached. Although he did leave tweets that are still quite challenging for Trump, such as that Musk was critical to his November 24 victory, which he was, to the tune of somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 million. But when we look at the astrology, the fact remains that even though at the moment, based on Musk's partial, who knows, maybe it'll be a full pullback, we'll see, it appears as though Trump has the upper hand. Jupiter is going into Cancer, which is Musk's sun sign, although it does that from the 10th and going into the end of the month. Prior to that, we have the Mars cycle, currently in late Leo. And here's where Musk and Trump have another point, another synastry, chart-to-chart pattern that can be very stimulating and dynamic between two people. And so provided they're in agreement, it's quite good. I'm referring to Musk's Jupiter squaring the president's Mars. But now Mars is going through the Leo part of that, which means it's going to square Musk's Jupiter, which means it's going to get turned on in his psyche. And of course, for Trump, it's an easy call. It goes over its own place at birth, reading the ascendant. That ramps up the combat and the aggression. But it's again linking them together over the next few days in not the greatest way. And furthermore, going into next week, midweek on Wednesday is the peak of the full moon, cutting across Gemini, Sagittarius, Sun in Gemini, Moon in Sagittarius. And so you would point to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as full moon days. Sometimes you get the effect early, sometimes you get it in the middle, sometimes you get it at the end. But that full moon is triggering both of them as well, because that's where Trump's sun and moon are, across those very same degrees. And in the case of Musk, we have a conjunction opposition to the Venus in Pisces in the 12th sign. So this suggests to me continued friction, but it still feels most logical to look at the Jupiter cycle moving deeper into Cancer, which is not favorable for the Orange Man. It just isn't, because as it's going into Cancer, it moves toward his infamous T-square, the Eris, Mercury, Neptune T-square, but as a conjunction to Musk's sun. And the most logical way this is likely to express itself is through the fact that we already know, as we go into the end of the month, the big beautiful bill / abomination, because on that one I fully agree with Musk. There's no question that it's a very, very problematic bill, particularly with some of the sneaky things they've tried to slip in there that either she's pretending or she's being truthful, but even scoundrels like Marjorie Taylor Scream are saying, well, I didn't know this. I wouldn't have approved. I wouldn't have agreed. And there was another person I saw in a town hall saying that he didn't know, which kind of makes you wonder if they don't need some kind of a system. I mean, especially now that we have AI and possibly other tools, to figure out what the heck is in these 1,000-page screeds before you are going to put your vote on it, right? So this is what's going to follow as we go toward the end of the month, early next month. And this is where we're going to have to see, does Musk actually also back off his criticisms of this bill? And here's where I suspect he's not going to, because I think this is something he really believes in. And in a way, Trump should have smelled this out, so to speak, when he partnered with this guy, given that it sounds to me like it would have been Musk's idea to do the Doge thing and go into these efficiency patterns. Trump is not about efficiency. He doesn't care at all about efficiency. He could care less. He'll drive the country's debt to the moon, if need be, in order to achieve his aims. And he would hopefully steal as much of that money as possible. So that's not his game. But he went along with Musk because Musk was putting up a lot of money, and money talks. It's powerful. It's a phenomenal propaganda tool. So he went along with it, but it would, something that would come back to haunt their relationship. And now we're at this point where it is absolutely critical for Trump and the GOP to get this bill through. And I suspect they probably will. And maybe the most we can hope for is, as a result of Musk's pressure, either direct or lurking in the background, that it'll lead to the bill being at least partly corrected so that less damage is done to the republic, so to speak. All right, I'll leave it there for now. It's possible that we'll get more developments later today.